Now, last little nugget here around the league before we get to our interview with Bruno Reagan. Missouri. Man, I think we've been overlooking a little bit. That's a little bit my fault, so much going on. But they have been adding players left and right via the transfer portal this offseason. And of course, we know best recruiting class in program history, signed up, ready to go. And the latest win from Eli Drinkowitz and company in the portal, they've landed Florida linebacker, or I obviously should say former Florida linebacker, Tyron Hopper. He is the cousin of Tyrone Hopper, who Missouri landed just a week ago from North Carolina. So you're adding two talented linebackers to the roster here in Missouri. Tyron, the former Gator, had 65 tackles last season, 10 tackles for loss. He was a top 100 overall prospect in the 2019 recruiting class, the number 4 outside linebacker, and he's got several more years to play. And just look at some of the schools and some of these prospects that Missouri has added via the transfer portal to help with depth and experience. We mentioned the two Hoppers, Oklahoma State defensive lineman Jaden Jerrigan, Clemson safety Joseph Charleston, Texas A&M corner Drayden Norwood, Stanford running back Nathan Pete, and they got Buffalo center Bence Polgar as well. So, I mean, we're talking, listen again to some of these schools: Florida, North Carolina, Oklahoma State, Clemson, Texas A&M, some of the most successful programs in the country. You're getting the players leaving there. And I know that the joke is, well, hell, they got a joke of a defense here. They hired this Steve Wilkes. It looks like a month into the job. Drinkowitz was legitimately being asked, are you considering firing this guy that you hired from the NFL? He seems in over his head, or he can't translate it to the college game. I looked up the numbers because Missouri was night and day better at the tail end of the season on the defensive side of the ball, but I had no idea how much. The first month of the season, Missouri was giving up 271 rushing yards per game, dead last in the SEC. That's just god-awful, and unfortunately, it got worse in October when they started to get into the middle of SEC play and that Boston College game. 296 yards allowed on the ground in the month of October. Again, dead last for Missouri, and this is the point where everybody's saying, well, my God, we got to move on from Steve Wilkes. This guy don't know what the hell he's doing. They fired the defensive line coach, made an adjustment. That's the scapegoat. That's the move you make. And then in November, 120 rushing yards allowed per game, fourth best in the SEC. So you go from dead last to fourth best, and you may be saying, well, hell, they probably played a joke of the schedule, right? No, they played Georgia, held them to their lowest rushing total in 2 years. They played Arkansas. Arkansas led the SEC in rushing last year. They played Florida, which I know Florida couldn't do much last year, but rushing the ball was about all they could do on that side of the ball. And they played South Carolina, which is sending 2 running backs off to the NFL in the So those were their 4 opponents in the month of November. And if that doesn't tell you the strides that were made on that defensive side of the ball under Steve Wilkes as the players got acclimated, something clearly clicked there. And with the change at the defensive line coach, now you're adding in these transfers. Now you're adding the best signing class of all time. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty confident, if I'm a Missouri fan, that we're headed in the right direction. I know last season didn't go quite your way, not up to the standard you were expecting, but that doesn't mean that the future is not very, very bright there in Columbia.